President Trump is back in Washington following his two-day summit with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. The visit was heavy on pageantry and flattery, but appears to have accomplished little in terms of policy, with no resolution on key issues like trade, the war in Iran, or Taiwan. In an interview with Fox last night, the president suggested that nothing has changed in the U.S. relationship with Taiwan, but warned against it formally declaring independence.
Should the people of Taiwan feel more or less secure after your meetings with President Xi?
Neutral.
Has the policy changed at all?
No, nothing's changed.
U.S. policy?
No, nothing's changed. I will say this. I'm not looking to have somebody go independent and, we're supposed to travel 9,500 miles to fight a war. I'm not looking for that.
Meanwhile, the Art of the Deal president appears to have gotten little in the way of business deals either. He touted fantastic trade deals reached, although so far few details have been released. And the cohort of executives he brought with him also didn't have much to show for it so far. Instead, the president left Beijing appearing to choose agreeing with our adversary rather than defending the U.S. In a Truth Social post, the president referenced comments he suggested Xi made, saying that when Xi, quote, elegantly suggested that the U.S. was a declining nation, he was talking about his predecessor, Joe Biden's time in office. We're joined now by Lara Seligman, national security reporter for The Wall Street Journal, and Jenny Welch, chief geoeconomics analyst at Bloomberg Economics and former national security director for China and Taiwan under the Trump and Biden administrations. She was also a former advisor to Vice Presidents Pence and Harris on Asia. Ladies, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Lara, I want to start with you and talk about what you think Trump accomplished on this trip. Any tangible, meaty deliverables here?
Yeah. Well, I think we can safely say no, not really any tangibles. Look, they went to China. President Trump had two main goals in mind, and one was to open China up to U.S. businesses, and the other was to secure some kind of commitment from China to influence Iran on giving up its nukes and the control of the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump kind of came away with no clear wins on that front. There were no major business deals that were announced. There was no commitment from China to intervene in the Iran conflict.
Strait of Hormuz still closed.
Yes, exactly. On the other hand, it was a good look for President Xi. Just the fact of an American president showing up, coming to Beijing, kind of put the two leaders on equal footing.
I mean, if he got anything, if these business folks got anything, he'd be tweeting about it. There'd be something out there. He would have said it to Brett Baer. Something would have happened. We'd have heard it. I want to play for you, Jenny, a montage of what President Trump said about how tough he was going to be on China and kind of where we are this week.
We can't continue to allow China to rape our country, and that's what they're doing. It's the greatest theft in the history of the world.
Such respect for China, the job you've done.
China has been ripping us off for many years. Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. So I'm taking on China.
They want to continue to rip off America, and with me they can't rip.
The American and Chinese people share much in common. It's a special world with the two of us united and together.
Such respect for China, the job you've done. This was Wednesday in Beijing. Those two humans don't know each other, right? Like the Donald Trump who talked tough on China and the Donald Trump who's not operating. Presidents, when they're running, obviously they always sound tough when it comes to foreign policy. But for him, it always felt different. It was visceral. He talked the language he used in that montage, and also the way that he spoke about China ripping us off felt different than other presidents.
No, and I think when you look back at the history of President Trump's political history, he was really the president that turned the page on China. When he campaigned for president in 2016, at that moment in time, the U.S. had its concerns about China, but he was really the one that launched out with this hawkish policy, first focused on trade, and then expanded to everything else. And that's true for when he came back into office last year. I think the turning point was the showdown last spring over trade and tariffs, and China playing this critical minerals trump card that continues to cast a real shadow over U.S. policy towards China and constrain what Washington can do.
But just because you're an expert on this. Can you talk a little bit more about the critical minerals aspect of this? Because I feel like everyone's been sort of throwing it out there, but no one's gone into depth about really what that means, at least on television.
No. So
It's complicated.
we looked through all of U.S. industry and their dependencies on China, and we discovered about 4% of U.S. industries are dependent on critical minerals, the vast majority of which come from China. And even given all the steps that the Trump administration in its first term, the Biden administration, and now the second Trump administration have taken to de-risk from China, China is still dominant in those sectors and likely to be so for at least another decade. And I can't underscore enough how much of this weighs on Washington's calculus when it comes to things like contemplating taking more pressure to China, whether it be over Iran, whether it be over Taiwan, or whether it be on the trade front. And I think that's why you saw President Trump go back with relatively low and modest asks, if they were even asks of Beijing.
Yeah. Lara, this is one of my little hobby horses. I mean, I love the pageantry of a used plane. But the pageantry of a presidential visit to another country. The thing that jumped out at me when Air Force One arrived, it parked, all the people come out, the beast comes out, the door opens, the president comes down the stairs, then comes the son, the daughter-in-law, and then Elon Musk. Of all the people on that trip, Elon Musk is the one who was allowed to come down the front steps of the plane. Now, for those of you who might remember, Elon Musk is Elon Musk of Doge fame, who blew up famously with the president, leaving the government, reignited the Epstein files as a topic of national conversation, and yet there he is, front and center in China. Why?
Well, I think the big reason is that American businesses are front and center. So Elon Musk of Tesla, of SpaceX, I think the president wanted to underscore the importance of this moment for U.S. and Chinese relations, particularly through trade. Now, as we've said before, they kind of expected a couple more big deals, major announcements out of this. You know, agriculture, China buying more U.S. soybeans and beef, exactly.
Love that.
Even China buying more U.S. oil, so it wouldn't be so dependent on the Middle East and Iran. But the only thing we really saw come out of it was the Boeing deal for 200 airplanes, which is less than the 500 that were expected.
Do you even know what kind of planes? Because they make all sorts of planes.
Exactly.
Big planes.
Big plane.
Very big. Very big planes.
I like a big plane myself.